10 Lessons to Keep Calm Like a Stoic. Marcus Aurelius. Hello, and welcome to this video, where we will explore 10 lessons to keep calm like a Stoic, inspired by the writings and example of Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous and influential Stoic philosophers in history. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that teaches us how to live a virtuous, rational, and serene life, regardless of the external circumstances. Stoics believe that we can only control our own thoughts, actions, and reactions, and that we should focus on them, rather than on the things that are outside of our power, such as fame, fortune, or other people's opinions. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor who ruled from 161 to 180 AD. He was also a devoted student and practitioner of Stoicism, and he wrote a personal diary known as the Meditations, where he recorded his reflections and advice on how to live according to the Stoic principles. His diary is considered one of the greatest works of Stoic literature, and it has inspired countless people throughout history, from political leaders to artists to ordinary people. In this video, we will look at 10 lessons that we can learn from Marcus Aurelius and apply to our own lives to help us cope with the challenges, difficulties, and uncertainties that we may face, and to cultivate a calm and rational mind. Lesson 1. Start your day with a positive mindset. The first lesson is to start your day with a positive mindset and to prepare yourself for whatever may happen. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the 2 rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions." This passage reminds us that we should not let our mood or happiness depend on other people's behavior, which is often irrational, ignorant, or malicious. Instead, we should recognize that we share a common humanity with them, and that we have the power to choose how we respond to them. We should also remember that we have a duty to cooperate and help each other, as we are all part of the same society and the same universe. By starting our day with this mindset, we can avoid being surprised, disappointed, or frustrated by the actions of others, and we can maintain a positive and compassionate attitude towards them. But how can we adopt this mindset and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice gratitude and remind ourselves of the things that we have and that we can appreciate, such as our health, our family, our friends, or our freedom. We can also think of the things that we can look forward to, such as our goals, our plans, or our hobbies. We can write down these things or say them out loud every morning and feel the joy and the satisfaction that they bring us. Second, we can practice affirmations and tell ourselves positive and empowering statements, such as "I am capable," "I am worthy," "I am resilient," or "I am calm." We can also use quotes or phrases from Stoic authors, such as "The obstacle is the way," "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury," or "You have power over your mind, not outside events." We can repeat these statements or write them down every morning and feel the confidence and the strength that they give us. Third, we can practice visualization and imagine ourselves facing the day with calmness, courage, and wisdom. We can also anticipate the possible challenges or difficulties that we may encounter and how we would deal with them in a Stoic way. We can picture ourselves in different scenarios and feel the peace and the clarity that they provide us. By practicing these techniques, we can start our day with a positive mindset and be ready for whatever may happen. Lesson 2. Focus on the present moment. The second lesson is to focus on the present moment and to avoid dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let the future trouble you. You will come to it, if you have to, with the same reason that you apply now to the present. And forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Each of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already or is impossible to see." These passages remind us that the only thing that is real and that matters is the present moment, which is the only thing that we can control and influence. The past is gone and the future is uncertain. By focusing on the present, we can make the best use of our time, energy, and resources, and we can avoid wasting them on regrets, fears, or fantasies. By focusing on the present, we can also appreciate the beauty and the value of every moment, and we can be more mindful and attentive to what we are doing and experiencing. But how can we focus on the present and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice meditation and train our mind to be aware and focused on the present moment. We can sit in a comfortable and quiet place and observe our breath, our body, our thoughts, and our feelings without judging or reacting to them. We can also use a mantra, a word, or a sound to help us concentrate and calm our mind. We can do this for a few minutes or longer every day and feel the benefits that it brings us. Second, we can practice mindfulness and bring our attention and awareness to the present moment in whatever we are doing or experiencing. We can pay attention to our senses, our actions, our surroundings, and our interactions, and notice the details and the nuances that we often miss or ignore. We can also use cues, such as a bell, a clock, or a reminder to help us remember to be mindful and present. We can do this throughout the day and feel the richness and the depth that it adds to our life. Third, we can practice detachment and let go of our attachment and aversion to the past and the future. We can accept the past as it is and learn from it without dwelling on it or feeling guilty or resentful about it. We can also accept the future as it will be and prepare for it without worrying about it or feeling anxious or fearful about it. We can also live in the present and enjoy it without clinging to it or feeling attached or dependent on it. By practicing these techniques, we can focus on the present and be more calm and happy. Lesson 3. Accept what you cannot change. The third lesson is to accept what you cannot change and to adapt to the circumstances that you face. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. These passages remind us that we should not resist or complain about the things that are outside of our control, such as the weather, the economy, or the actions of others. Instead, we should accept them as they are and use them as opportunities to practice our virtues, such as courage, wisdom, or patience. We should also use them as challenges to improve ourselves, to learn new skills, or to find new solutions. By accepting what we cannot change, we can avoid being stressed, angry, or depressed by the external events, and we can find peace and strength within ourselves. But how can we accept what we cannot change and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice Stoic exercises, such as the dichotomy of control, the view from above, and the premeditation of evils. The dichotomy of control is the practice of distinguishing between the things that we can control and the things that we cannot control, and focusing only on the former. The view from above is the practice of zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, and realizing how small and insignificant our problems are in the grand scheme of things. The premeditation of evils is the practice of imagining the worst-case scenarios and preparing ourselves for them, and realizing that they are not as bad as we think. Second, we can practice positive reframing and changing our perspective and attitude towards the things that we cannot change. We can look for the silver lining, the hidden benefit, or the valuable lesson that every situation offers us. We can also look for the humor, the irony, or the absurdity that every situation reveals to us. We can also look for the gratitude, the appreciation, or the compassion that every situation inspires in us. Third, we can practice action and doing what we can, with what we have, where we are. We can focus on our goals, our plans, or our tasks, and work on them diligently and persistently. We can also focus on our roles, our responsibilities, or our duties, and fulfill them faithfully and honorably. We can also focus on our values, our principles, or our virtues, and live by them consistently and authentically. By practicing these techniques, we can accept what we cannot change and be more resilient and adaptable. Lesson 4. Be grateful for what you have. The fourth lesson is to be grateful for what you have and to appreciate the simple and essential things in life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. And do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." These passages remind us that we should not take for granted the things that we have, such as our health, our family, our friends, or our freedom. We should also not be greedy or envious of the things that we do not have, such as wealth, fame, or power, which are often fleeting, unreliable, or meaningless. Instead, we should be grateful for the things that we have, and that truly matter, and we should enjoy them and use them well. By being grateful for what we have, we can avoid being dissatisfied, unhappy, or ungrateful, and we can cultivate a sense of joy and contentment. But how can we be grateful for what we have and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice gratitude journaling and write down the things that we are grateful for every day or every week. We can list the big things, such as our life, our health, or our loved ones, but also the small things, such as a good meal, a nice conversation, or a beautiful sunset. We can also write down why we are grateful for them and how they make us feel. We can also read our gratitude journal whenever we need a reminder or a boost of positivity. Second, we can practice gratitude expressions and say thank you or show appreciation to the people who help us, support us, or inspire us in any way. We can also write them a note, a letter, or a card to express our gratitude more deeply and personally. We can also give them a gift, a hug, or a compliment to express our gratitude more tangibly and warmly. We can also do something nice or helpful or generous for them to express our gratitude more actively and reciprocally. Third, we can practice gratitude meditation and focus our mind and heart on the things that we are grateful for and feel the emotions that they evoke in us. We can also send positive thoughts or wishes or prayers to the people or the things that we are grateful for and feel the connection that we have with them. We can also expand our gratitude and include the people or the things that we may not usually think of, or that we may take for granted, or that we may have a conflict with, and feel the compassion that we have for them. By practicing these techniques, we can be grateful for what we have and be more joyful and content. Lesson 5. Be humble and modest. The fifth lesson is to be humble and modest, and to avoid being arrogant, prideful, or vain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life. And how small a part of the boundless and unfathomable time is assigned to every man, for it is very soon swallowed up in the eternal. And how small a part of the whole substance, and how small a part of the universal soul, and on what a small clod of the whole earth you creep. Reflecting on all this, consider nothing to be great, except to act as your nature leads you, and to endure that which the common nature brings." These passages remind us that we should not be surprised or disturbed by the events that happen in life, as they are part of the natural and inevitable order of things. We should also not be proud or boastful of ourselves, as we are very insignificant and temporary in the grand scheme of things. Instead, we should be humble and modest and recognize our limitations, our ignorance, and our mortality. We should also be respectful and tolerant of others and of the diversity and complexity of the world. By being humble and modest, we can avoid being deluded, arrogant, or disrespectful, and we can cultivate a sense of perspective and wisdom. But how can we be humble and modest and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice self-awareness and examine ourselves honestly and objectively and acknowledge our strengths and weaknesses, our successes and failures, our virtues and vices. We can also seek feedback, criticism, or advice from others and listen to them with an open mind and a willingness to learn. We can also compare ourselves, not to others, but to our own standards and ideals, and strive to improve ourselves without being complacent or self-satisfied. Second, we can practice humility and avoid bragging, boasting, or showing off about ourselves, our achievements, or our possessions. We can also avoid looking down, judging, or criticizing others for their shortcomings, their mistakes, or their differences. We can also avoid seeking praise, admiration, or validation from others for our actions, our opinions, or our appearance. We can also avoid being defensive, stubborn, or arrogant when we are wrong, or when we are challenged, or when we are corrected. Third, we can practice modesty and avoid being extravagant, wasteful, or greedy with our resources, our money, or our time. We can also avoid being flashy, showy, or ostentatious with our clothes, our accessories, or our gadgets. We can also avoid being indulgent, hedonistic, or gluttonous with our pleasures, our desires, or our appetites. We can also avoid being envious, jealous, or covetous of what others have, or what others do, or what others are. By practicing these techniques, we can be humble and modest and be more wise and respectful. Lesson 6. Be honest and sincere. The sixth lesson is to be honest and sincere, and to avoid being deceitful, hypocritical, or manipulative. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And the first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. These passages remind us that we should not do or say anything that is against our conscience, our reason, or our values. We should also not lie, cheat, or pretend to be something that we are not. Instead, we should be honest and sincere, and act and speak according to our principles, our logic, and our truth. We should also be realistic and objective, and see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. By being honest and sincere, we can avoid being corrupted, dishonest, or delusional, and we can cultivate a sense of integrity and clarity. But how can we be honest and sincere and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice honesty and tell the truth, even when it is hard, inconvenient, or unpopular. We can also admit our mistakes, our faults, or our ignorance, and take responsibility for them without making excuses or blaming others. We can also keep our promises, our commitments, or our agreements and honor them without breaking them or changing them. Second, we can practice sincerity and express our thoughts, our feelings, or our opinions without hiding them or sugarcoating them. We can also listen to others and understand their perspectives without interrupting them or judging them. We can also be consistent and match our words with our actions without contradicting them or changing them. Third, we can practice authenticity and be ourselves without trying to please others or conform to their expectations or follow their trends. We can also be original and use our own voice, our own style, or our own ideas without copying others or following their templates or repeating their cliches. We can also be confident and value ourselves without being arrogant or insecure or dependent. By practicing these techniques, we can be honest and sincere and be more trustworthy and clear. Lesson 7. Be kind and generous. The seventh lesson is to be kind and generous, and to avoid being selfish, cruel, or indifferent. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Kindness is invincible if it is sincere and not an act." What can even the most vicious person do if you keep treating him with kindness and gently set him straight? If you get the chance, correcting him cheerfully at the exact moment that he is trying to do you harm. No, my friend. That isn't what we're here for. It isn't what nature requires. But this is. And show him, gently and without pointing fingers, that it's so. That bees don't act like this or any other animals with a sense of community. Don't do it sardonically or meanly, but affectionately, with no hatred in your heart. And not ex cathedra or to impress third parties, but speaking directly to him, even if there are other people around. This passage reminds us that we should not be hostile or hateful towards those who harm us or annoy us, but rather we should be kind and generous, and try to help them see the error of their ways. We should also not be sarcastic or judgmental, but rather we should be sincere and respectful, and speak to them as fellow human beings. We should also not be motivated by vanity or ego, but rather by a genuine desire to do good and to follow nature. By being kind and generous, we can avoid being bitter, resentful, or vengeful, and we can cultivate a sense of benevolence and harmony. But how can we be kind and generous and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice kindness and do small acts of kindness every day for ourselves and for others. We can smile, say hello, give a compliment, or offer a hand to anyone we meet without expecting anything in return. We can also treat ourselves with kindness and take care of our needs, our health, and our well-being without feeling guilty or selfish. Second, we can practice generosity and share our resources, our money or our time, with those who need them or who can benefit from them. We can donate, volunteer, or help in any way we can without being stingy or attached. We can also be generous with our knowledge, our skills, or our ideas, and teach, mentor, or inspire anyone who can learn from us without being arrogant or possessive. Third, we can practice empathy and put ourselves in the shoes of others and try to understand their feelings, their thoughts, or their situations without being indifferent or judgmental. We can also express our empathy and show our support, our compassion, or our sympathy to anyone who is suffering, struggling, or in pain, without being pitying or patronizing. By practicing these techniques, we can be kind and generous, and be more benevolent and harmonious. Lesson 8. Be self-disciplined and consistent. The 8th lesson is to be self-disciplined and consistent, and to avoid being lazy, impulsive, or inconsistent. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm?' And do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. The inescapable is hanging over your head. While you have life in you, while you still can, make yourself good." These passages remind us that we should not waste our time and our potential, but rather we should use them wisely and productively. We should also not give in to our passions, desires, or whims, but rather we should follow our reason, our purpose, and our values. We should also not be complacent or procrastinate, but rather we should be diligent and persistent, and do what we have to do when we have to do it. By being self-disciplined and consistent, we can avoid being unproductive, irrational, or unreliable, and we can cultivate a sense of excellence and achievement. But how can we be self-disciplined and consistent and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice goal setting and define our long-term and short-term goals and break them down into manageable and measurable steps. We can also write down our goals and review them regularly and track our progress and results. We can also reward ourselves or celebrate when we achieve our goals or complete our steps and feel the satisfaction and the motivation that they bring us. Second, we can practice habit building and create and follow a daily routine that includes the activities and tasks that are important and beneficial for us, such as exercise, meditation, reading, or writing. We can also use tools such as calendars, alarms, or apps to help us schedule and remind us of our habits. We can also use strategies such as the habit loop, the habit stacking, or the habit tracking to help us form and maintain our habits and make them automatic and effortless. Third, we can practice self-control and resist the temptations and distractions that may interfere with our goals and habits, such as social media, TV, or games. We can also use techniques such as the Pomodoro method, the Eisenhower matrix, or the Pareto principle to help us manage our time and prioritize our tasks. We can also use methods such as the 5-second rule, the if-then plan, or the implementation intention to help us overcome our inertia and take action. By practicing these techniques, we can be self-disciplined and consistent and be more productive and successful. Lesson 9. Be calm and resilient. The 9th lesson is to be calm and resilient and to avoid being anxious, angry, or depressed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. And how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" These passages remind us that we should not let our emotions be affected by the external events, which are often beyond our control and indifferent to us. Instead, we should control our emotions and judge the events rationally and objectively. We should also not react with anger, fear, or sadness, which are harmful and useless, but rather with calmness, courage, and joy, which are beneficial and virtuous. By being calm and resilient, we can avoid being disturbed, agitated, or miserable, and we can cultivate a sense of tranquility and happiness. But how can we be calm and resilient and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice breathing and use our breath as a tool to calm our mind and body and to regulate our emotions. We can breathe deeply, slowly, and evenly and focus on our inhalation and exhalation and feel the sensations that they create in us. We can also use breathing techniques such as the 4-7-8 method, the box breathing, or the alternate nostril breathing to help us relax and reduce stress. Second, we can practice Stoic exercises such as the negative visualization, the voluntary discomfort, and the view from above. The negative visualization is the practice of imagining the worst-case scenarios and how we would cope with them, and realizing that they are not as bad as we think. The voluntary discomfort is the practice of exposing ourselves to some hardship or inconvenience and learning to endure it and appreciate what we have. The view from above is the practice of zooming out and looking at the bigger picture and realizing how small and insignificant our problems are in the grand scheme of things. Third, we can practice positive psychology and use our thoughts and emotions as a source of strength and happiness, rather than weakness and misery. We can use cognitive techniques such as the ABCDE model, the cognitive restructuring, or the rational emotive behavior therapy to help us challenge and change our negative and irrational thoughts and beliefs. We can also use emotional techniques such as the positive emotions, the emotional intelligence, or the emotional regulation to help us enhance and manage our positive and negative emotions. By practicing these techniques, we can be calm and resilient and be more tranquil and happy. Lesson 10. Be mindful and reflective. The 10th and final lesson is to be mindful and reflective and to avoid being distracted, superficial, or ignorant. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature. And, at the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What can I improve? These passages remind us that we should not let our thoughts be influenced by the external stimuli, such as the media, the opinions of others, or the temptations of the world. Instead, we should guard our thoughts and make sure that they are aligned with our virtues, our reason, and our nature. We should also not be careless or complacent, but rather we should be mindful and reflective, and constantly examine our actions, our motives, and our results. By being mindful and reflective, we can avoid being misled, corrupted, or stagnant, and we can cultivate a sense of awareness and improvement. But how can we be mindful and reflective and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice journaling and write down our thoughts, our feelings, or our experiences every day or every week. We can use prompts such as, "What did I learn today?" "What am I grateful for today?" or "What did I enjoy today?" to help us reflect and express ourselves. We can also use quotes or phrases from Stoic authors, such as, "The obstacle is the way," "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury," or "You have power over your mind," not outside events, to help us inspire and motivate ourselves. Second, we can practice meditation and train our mind to be aware and focused on the present moment. We can sit in a comfortable and quiet place and observe our breath, our body, our thoughts, and our feelings without judging or reacting to them. We can also use a mantra, a word, or a sound to help us concentrate and calm our mind. We can do this for a few minutes or longer every day and feel the benefits that it brings us. Third, we can practice self-improvement and set goals and plans to improve ourselves in any area that we want, such as our health, our skills, our knowledge, or our relationships. We can also seek feedback, criticism, or advice from others and listen to them with an open mind and a willingness to learn. We can also read books, watch videos, or listen to podcasts that can teach us something new or challenge us to think differently or inspire us to act better. By practicing these techniques, we can be mindful and reflective and be more aware and improved. These are the 10 lessons that we can learn from Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism to help us keep calm and live a good life. Of course, these are not the only lessons nor the only source of wisdom, but they are a good start and a good reminder. We hope that you enjoyed this video and that you will apply these lessons to your own life. Thank you for watching, and remember, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury.